Serving Nigerian Senator, Prince Chinedu Munir Nwoko, well known as Ned Nwoko, has been accused of sending policemen to arrest his in-laws, after his fourth wife and a popular Nollywood super actress, Regina Daniels, ran out of the matrimonial home over alleged domestic violence, intimidation, oppressions and maltreatment like a nobody in the senator's house. The Serving Nigeria Senator, Ned Nwoko, accused the absconded wife, Regina Daniels, of substance abuse, denying her allegations of domestic violence, adding, he made efforts to stop her addict of substance abuse, hence the wife, Regina Daniels, became violent and she started assaulting the domestic staff and destroying properties in the house, according to Ned Nwoko in a statement he had issued less than 48 hours after the star actress ran away from her matrimonial home in October last month. While I took Moon to the hospital, a scene of chaos unfolded at home, orchestrated by Sammy, Regina's main drug supplier. Another known supplier of drugs to Regina is the tiny evil devil called Anne. In a swift reaction to the arrest of his son and Regina Daniels' brother yesterday, Rita Daniels, the mother-in-law, accused the Serving Nigeria Senator, Ned Nwoko, of trying to bite the finger that fed him, saying, Ned Nwoko married her daughter because she was a popular actress, and the senator needed the high star of her status to boost his fallen star or his political relevance in the Nigeria politics, saying, the senator will go down for arresting her children, adding that, people should take a look at Ned Nwoko's children, if any of them looked like from a billionaire father, although, the actual numbers of the in-laws arrested is yet to be officially stated, as one of the Regina Daniels sisters, initially said to be arrested alongside with the brother, was seen outside the police station in Lagos State on Monday night in a video made available online by Regina Daniels' family. Verbatim, Regina Daniels' mother, Rita Daniels, while she was being video recorded and screaming with a very loud, painful voice in front of the police station at night yesterday, said, "You married my daughter because you wanted someone with high star to boost your fallen star. If you think you can bite the finger that fed you, you'll go down. Regina gave you $50,000 to support your election. All my resources also went into that same election. You are mad." Nigeria media reported that the arrests came days after actress Regina Daniels allegedly filed for divorce, accusing him of domestic violence. Calling out the senator amid the marital crisis on Monday, Regina disclosed that her elder brother and sister had been arrested. While appealing to the general public for urgent help, the 24-year-old, in a series of posts on her Instagram page, attributed her siblings' arrest and detention to an alleged attempt by her husband to force her into a rehabilitation center. "Someone please, help me. I feel like I'm losing my mind. I never thought I would do this, but my big brother and big sister have been arrested. My baby sister might be arrested as well until I return and, according to him, return to rehab. Don't even get me started on telling the world what you did to me with your stupid rehab talk," Daniels wrote. "You said, fellow contestants, in the last concluded presidential election in Nigeria and Anambra State, former Governor Peter Obi has said that the current president of Nigeria, Bola Ahmed Tinubu-led government, lacks the passion to stop the unwarranted killing of people in manners of criminal acts including terrorism, stressing that, while the insecurity did not start with the present government, what is most unfortunate is the lack and absence of competence, commitment, prudent use of resources, patriotism and passion on the part of APC-led government leaders to effectively govern, galvanize and lead Nigeria where no one is unwarrantedly oppressed and killed, a nation where peace, truth and justice reign." This, Peter Obi stated via his social media accounts on Monday evening in response to the United States. U.S. President Donald Trump announced plans to launch U.S. military action in Nigeria to wipe out terrorists killing Christians in the West Africa country. According to Peter Obi, the recent pronouncement by the U.S. government declaring Nigeria a country of particular concern, CPC, and indicating possible military action should give every well-meaning Nigerian serious concern. There is no doubt that Nigeria is experiencing an unprecedented level of insecurity with attendant carnage and the most shocking loss of lives and property. According to Amnesty International, over 10,000 people have been killed in Nigeria since May 2023, and as I have repeatedly lamented, the unwarranted and unprovoked killing of Nigerians is most condemnable, and all efforts must be made to bring it to a stop. It is equally important to state that the terrible situation is significantly avoidable with competent leadership and governance. While the insecurity did not start with the present government, what is most unfortunate is the lack and absence of competence, commitment, prudent use of resources, patriotism and passion on the part of APC-led government leaders to effectively govern, galvanize and lead Nigeria where no one is unwarrantedly oppressed and killed, a nation where peace, truth and justice reign. As democracies, Nigeria and the US have long been strategic partners committed to regional peace and security. That relationship should not falter. The present situation calls for constructive diplomatic and any other plausible engagement by both nations aimed at addressing the prevailing and disturbing security concerns. Both countries must work in concert and expeditiously towards that purpose. Peter Obi had earlier on October 28, 2025 condemned the Nigeria government over rising criminal acts in drug abuse-related crimes, saying, "When criminals can now use the country logistics companies to distribute narcotics across the country, it shows how weak the government institutions in Nigeria have become." The recent revelation that drug traffickers have infiltrated Nigeria's courier and delivery services sector is worrisome and another sad reminder of how deep our national decay has become. When criminal networks can now use logistics companies to distribute narcotics across the country, it shows how weak our institutions and relevant monitoring systems are. The Nigeria Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, Barrister Jefferson Uwoghiren, a human rights lawyer and a political activist, has said, "Nothing wrong if it takes the intervention of the United States, US President Donald Trump to end the raging fires of insecurity, institutional wickedness and terrorism in Nigeria." The legal practitioner stated this in numbers of posts he published through his personal social media platform since President Donald Trump announced U.S. intention to launch military action in Nigeria to wipe out terrorists killing Christians in the West Africa country, saying, "If America's saber-rattling military threat is the dirty water needed to flush this country clean, or quench the raging fires of institutional wickedness, insecurity, and terrorism, so be it." According to Barrister Jefferson Uwoghiren, dirty water they quench fire. Nobody, yes nobody deserves to die in the hands of terrorists. If it takes Trump's intervention to wake up disgraceful governments to act swiftly, vigorously, patriotically, and responsibly, so be it. The primary business of government is the safety and protection of the lives and properties of citizens, whether Christians or Muslims. If America's saber-rattling is the dirty water needed to flush this country clean, or quench the raging fires of institutional wickedness, insecurity, and terrorism, so be it. Now government way serious, citizens day loyal for, a country of concern to disgraced country. How did we get here? This is the lowest of lows in Nigeria-America relations. A country we ditched the UK for and adopted its system of government. Practically everything. This is not really about Trump. It's more about how we treat crime, punishment, and our bogus criminal justice system. The government has surrounded itself with fawning nincompoop and incompetent advisors who see national security only through narrow tribal prisms and ritualism, adept at creating enemies for the government instead of friends. No attempt at conciliative politics or national unity. Almost 3 years. There are no ambassadors to major countries. Our foreign policy chiefs are torn between transactional politics of financial safe havens or alignment with non-aligned low-energy Caribbean countries. Our domestic policy leans more towards appeasement of fading potentates rather than the enforcement of nation-building rules. We can't continue this way. Either we sit down and talk, or others will do the talking to us. A collapsed or exploding Nigeria is a threat to global peace and a humongous humanitarian disaster that must be avoided at all cost. We are almost at the gate. Where's the break? We have reported that Ogun's state-born princess, Terrorism Munir Nwoko has reacted over the description of Nigeria as a disgraced country by President Donald Trump of the United States, US, saying, "The greatest contribution the United States and its allies can make at this pivotal moment is to support the genuine democratic emergence of visionary, credible, and people-centered Nigerian leaders, not the preservation of a kleptocratic status quo that has entrenched poverty, division and despair, calling on the international community for the urgent need to uphold democracy and human." Lagos State Command of the Nigeria Police Force has declared the founder and publisher of Sahara Reporters news media, Omoyele Sowore, wanted for organizing protest in Lagos State, which, the Lagos State Commissioner of Police, Moshood Jimoh, said Sowore has allegedly committed the offense of breach of public peace, and the police commissioner thereafter confirmed the arrest of 13 persons he described as vagabonds and miscreants as group of people came out on Monday morning to protest against the demolition of their settlements after their houses at the Koka and Ojulari areas of a Warrenshoki community in Kosofe local government area of Lagos State were brought down at midnight on Saturday, hours after the state government announced that it had compensated about 80 property owners on Friday, forcing some concerned citizens to condemn the government for displacing families without a clear plan for relocation and reintegration into the housing system. This, Omoyele Sowore, in an on-the-spot video statement made on Monday at the scene of the protest, said he could not come down from the vehicle because he had a privileged information that there was plans to kill him if he comes out openly during the protest. According to Sowore, the action of the police explained why President Donald Trump of the United States, US, is considering military action in Nigeria because the US president has seen weak leadership and leaders do not mean well for the people. According to the Lagos State Police Commissioner, I hereby, as the Commissioner of Police, Lagos State Police Command, declare Sowore wanted. I declare him wanted for causing disturbance of public peace and an act to commit a felony by planning and putting all the plans in motion to block the third mainland bridge to cause hardship for Lagosians and other Nigerians, more especially visitors, who are transients through this end. We will not allow that. We are closing in on him. Anywhere he is, he should know that we are closing in on him. We learned that he was in a bus and being videoed. Why didn't he come down? He came down in Abuja. He should come down. Wherever he is, he should report himself to the nearest police station. We are going to arrest him, investigate him and prosecute him. The Commissioner of Police said massive deployment of police personnel had been made, not just to the third mainland bridge but also to other parts of the state, where coordinated protests are likely to hold. The police boss stressed that this location is vital to the city's economy and the well-being of commuters. We will not allow any action, peaceful or otherwise, that seeks to block the bridge and disrupt livelihoods. Any attempt to obstruct the third mainland bridge is a direct threat to public safety and national infrastructure. Anyone attempting to disturb public peace will be arrested, investigated and prosecuted. Lagos is the heartbeat of Nigeria's economy, and we cannot afford chaos here. We have arrested 13 suspects, who are vagabonds and miscreants who wanted to cause mayhem in Lagos State. Sowore, in a statement with a video attachment, said, I recorded this video at the scene of the attack on peaceful protesters by Nigeria Police Force in Lagos during today's Warrenshoki anti-demolition protest, which they handled in the usual despicable and unconscionable manner. The Ogun State-born princess, Terrorism Munir Nwoko, has reacted over the description of Nigeria as a disgraced country by President Donald Trump of the United States, US, saying, the greatest contribution the United States and its allies can make at this pivotal moment is to support the genuine democratic emergence of visionary, credible, and people-centered Nigerian leaders, not the preservation of a kleptocratic status quo that has entrenched poverty, division and despair, calling on the international community for the urgent need to uphold democracy and human dignity amid President Trump's plans to begin U.S. military actions in Nigeria to end the killing of Christians in Nigeria. While reacting to the recent remarks by President Donald Trump portraying Nigeria as a disgraced country, Princess Ola acknowledged the deep governance challenges confronting Africa's most populous nation but emphasized that Nigeria's struggle is not one of Christian-targeted conflict, but one of governance, justice, and humanity itself. The greatest contribution the United States and its allies can make at this pivotal moment is to support the genuine democratic emergence of visionary, credible, and people-centered Nigerian leaders, not the preservation of a kleptocratic status quo that has entrenched poverty, division and despair. True partnership must empower integrity and merit, not those who have rigged themselves into power through corruption and coercion. Princess Ola called for global collaboration to restore faith in governance and strengthen democratic institutions, noting that Nigeria's stability and progress are critical not only for its citizens but for Africa and the world at large. Only through principled engagement and unwavering support for democracy can Nigeria's citizens rebuild their nation in peace and dignity, free from the devastation of renewed conflict. I look forward to continued dialogue, progressive cooperation, and a shared vision for humanity, she concluded. We have reported that President Donald Trump of the United States of America has placed U.S. soldiers on red alert for possible war in Nigeria. According to President Trump, the U.S. Department of War should prepare U.S. troops for possible military action in Nigeria if the Nigerian government continued to allow the killing of Christians. The U.S. troops may very well go into that now disgraced country, guns a-blazing, to completely wipe out the Islamic terrorists who are committing these horrible atrocities. This, President Trump issued on Saturday evening in line with Greenwich Meridian Time after President Bola Ahmed Tinubu personally signed a statement rejecting Trump's earlier claim on Friday that Christians are being targeted and killed in Nigeria, although President Bola Ahmed Tinubu disagreed with Trump, who had described the high level of insecurity in Nigeria as a religious war by Islamic terrorists against Christians, but some Nigerians quickly took to the comment section of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's post on X social media platform, and pasted a screenshot of a tweet published by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on January 29, 2014, wherein President Bola Ahmed Tinubu apparently had long accepted and agreed that the insecurity in Nigeria is possibly. President Donald Trump of the United States of America has placed U.S. soldiers on red alert for possible war in Nigeria. According to President Trump, the U.S. Department of War should prepare U.S. troops for possible military action in Nigeria if the Nigerian government continued to allow the killing of Christians. The U.S. troops may very well go into that now disgraced country, guns a-blazing, to completely wipe out the Islamic terrorists who are committing these horrible atrocities. This, President Trump issued on Saturday evening in line with Greenwich Meridian Time after President Bola Ahmed Tinubu personally signed a statement rejecting Trump's earlier claim on Friday that Christians are being targeted and killed in Nigeria. Although President Bola Ahmed Tinubu disagreed with Trump, who had described the high level of insecurity in Nigeria as a religious war by Islamic terrorists against Christians, but some Nigerians quickly took to the comment section of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's post on X social media platform, and pasted a screenshot of a tweet published by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on January 29, 2014, wherein President Bola Ahmed Tinubu apparently had long accepted and agreed that the insecurity in Nigeria is possibly a religious war against Christians in the West Africa country. Verbatim, in the tweet, Tinubu said, "The slaughtering of Christian worshippers is strongly condemnable. It calls to question the competence of Jonathan, then President of Nigeria, to protect Nigerians." This old statement by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu indicated that President Donald Trump of the United States of America may not be the first person to describe the insecurity in Nigeria as a religious war against Christian communities in the West Africa country. President Trump, in his latest policy statement via his Truth social media platform on Saturday evening, said, and in quotes, that if the Nigerian government continues to allow the killing of Christians, the USA will immediately stop all aid and assistance to Nigeria, and may very well go into that now disgraced country, guns a-blazing, to completely wipe out the Islamic terrorists who are committing these horrible atrocities. I am hereby instructing our Department of War to prepare for possible action. If we attack, it will be fast, vicious, and sweet, just like the terrorist thugs attack our cherished Christians. Warning: the Nigerian government better move fast. According to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Nigeria stands firmly as a democracy governed by constitutional guarantees of religious liberty. Since 2023, our administration has maintained an open and active engagement with Christian and Muslim leaders alike and continues to address security challenges which affect citizens across faiths and regions. The characterization of Nigeria as religiously intolerant does not reflect our national reality, nor does it take into consideration the consistent and sincere efforts of the government to safeguard freedom of religion and beliefs for all Nigerians. Religious freedom and tolerance have been a core tenet of our collective identity and shall always remain so. Nigeria opposes religious persecution and does not encourage it. Nigeria is a country with constitutional guarantees. Reports on Saturday early morning in the Africa country of Tanzania indicated that thousands of youths in the country have continued mass protest in the Tanzania capital city of Dodoma. Also simultaneously in the country's former capital city of Dar es Salaam, which remains the country's largest city and its main economic hub, while streets in Mwanza, Mbeya, and Arusha have remained occupied by the aggrieved youths who the major opposition political party, Chadema, claimed have been shot at, and over 700 of them have been killed by security operatives since the violent protest erupted in the country on Wednesday over the 2025 presidential election allegedly marred by corrupt practices. But the Tanzania Foreign Ministry dismissed the claim, saying the Tanzania government is not aware of any death recorded or any of the protesters killed, adding, the government has not used excessive force on the protesters. The United Nations UN Human Rights Office stated on Friday that it has a credible report of at least 10 deaths recorded as a result of killing of protesters by the Tanzania security forces, and information from border communities between Tanzania and Kenya indicated that, on Thursday, October 30th, in the afternoon, chaos broke out at the Namanga border checkpoint as Kenyan and Tanzanian youth threw stones at Tanzanian police, and the police responded with live ammunition and tear gas canisters, leading to a casualty of 2 people shot dead by police and 2 others, including a Kenyan police officer, were seriously injured. While violent protest continued across major cities in Tanzania, President Samia Suluhu Hassan of Chama cha Mapinduzi, CCM political party, was declared winner, and the electoral body announced on Saturday early morning that the president secured a re-election figure of 97.66% of the votes, which represents 31,913,866 ballots. In the October 29, 2025 controversial presidential election boycotted by the country's main opposition political party, Chadema, which the Chadema political party did by not signing the Electoral Code of Conduct after the set deadline, and the Tanzania electoral body subsequently banned the Chadema political party from participating in the general election and all by-elections till 2030, and this is in addition to the disqualifications of challengers like Tundu Lissu of Chadema political party, the main opposition leader who remains detained since April 2025, and other serious challenger, Luhaga Mpina of ACT Wazalendo, was disqualified on technicalities. The final result showed Hassan 97.1 and 66% of the vote, dominating every constituency, the Electoral Commission announced on state television. A quick swearing-in ceremony would take place on Saturday, the state TV said. On Friday there were reports that the Tanzanian president, Samia Suluhu Hassan, left her private residence in Zanzibar in a military chopper, and some local media reported on Saturday morning that her whereabouts had remained unknown. Demonstrations erupted on Wednesday in Dar es Salaam, a city of more than 7 million people, after Kingsley Kanunta Kanu, the younger brother to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, in an ex-post as reshared by Barrister Uwoghiren, the coordinating lawyer for the detained Biafra Republic agitation leader. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has given reasons why his elder brother had continued to defend himself on the ground of no case submission, saying, "The federal government of Nigeria who made the accusations and filed the terrorism charges against the Biafra leader has not been able to pinpoint any aspect of the Nigeria laws that should warrant his brother, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, to enter defense," citing several court rulings that invalidated the federal government accusations against the detained Biafra leader. This, Kingsley Kanunta Kanu stated in reaction to the commentary of Dr. Sam Amadi, published on This Day newspaper, after the detained leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, on Monday, abandoned his earlier plan to call witnesses in his ongoing trial before the Federal High Court in Abuja. Nnamdi Kanu, who is being prosecuted on 7 counts of terrorism charges brought against him by the federal government, last Friday, had prayed the court for an adjournment after informing the trial judge, Justice James Omotosho, that his former legal team, led by a former Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Chief Kanu Agabi, San, had yet to release his case file to him. Though Nnamdi Kanu had earlier expressed his readiness to open his defense in a written application to the court, in which he indicated his intention to call witnesses and requested the issuance of witness summons, but, at the resumed hearing on Monday, Kanu told the court that upon reviewing the case file, he had concluded that there was no valid charge against him. Nnamdi Kanu argued that since he believed the charges were unlawful and that the prosecution had failed to establish any case, there was no need for him to proceed with his defense. According to Punch newspaper, the trial judge, Justice James Omotosho, directed Kanu to file a written address formally stating his position and to serve the prosecution accordingly. Justice Omotosho further advised the IPOB leader to consult experts in criminal law to understand the possible legal implications of his decision. The judge thereafter adjourned the case to November 4, 5, and 6 for the adoption of final written addresses, based either on Kanu's position that no case had been established against him or for him to proceed with his defense if he decides otherwise. Kingsley Kanunta Kanu's statement as recirculated by Barrister Aloy Ejimakor on Thursday, tagged, "Legal Rejoinder," to the misleading commentary by Dr. Sam Amadi, published in This Day of the 30th of October 2025, titled, "If I were Kanu, I would not refuse to write a defense," stated as follows below. 1. Introduction. Correcting a misguided narrative. The recent article by Dr. Sam Amadi in This Day at Thisdalev of the 30th of October 2025, suggesting that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu should write a defense instead of claiming he has no case, exemplifies how poorly informed commentary can distort constitutional discourse in Nigeria. While the piece parades itself as legal analysis, it fundamentally misstates the law and fact. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu of Nigeria has issued a revised policy actions over the 2025 presidential pardons he had earlier granted to 175 persons, some of whom were convicted murderers, deadly kidnappers, which included Maryam Sanda, who had spent barely 6 years and 8 months at the Suleja Medium Security Custodial Center after she was convicted and sentenced to death by hanging over the killing of her husband, Bilyaminu Bello in Abuja, who she stabbed 3 times repeatedly. This, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in his earlier presidential pardon granted to the 37-years-old convicted and condemned murderer, Maryam Sanda, had asked her to go home free because of her children, but, following public outcry and condemnation, in the revised version of the presidential pardons signed into law on October 21, 2025 and made available to the public by the presidency on Wednesday, October 29, 2025, President Tinubu commuted the death sentence to 12 years imprisonment, although the presidency never mentioned the total numbers of people granted the presidential pardons. But, the list of beneficiaries made available by the presidential spokesperson, Bayo Onanuga, indicated that only 86 persons were granted the presidential pardons, and Maryam Sanda, apparently spelt as Maryam Sanda, was last on the list, and the names of earlier beneficiaries like Kelvin Prosper Oniara were not seen in the revised edition of the list. Maybe, the names were omitted due to excessive public outcry that Prosper Kelvin Oniara was a convicted, notorious, high-profile gang leader of a deadly kidnapping group that were widely stated to be responsible for the kidnapping and subsequent killing of a former Anambra State Deputy Governor, Chinedu Munir, kidnapping of a prominent legal practitioner, Mike Ozekome, on August 24, 2013 along Benin Auchi Road, and during the kidnapping operation, the gunman ambushed and killed 4 police officers including the divisional police officer, DPO of Ahor Division, who led the police team in an attempt to rescue Mike Ozekome. Outside that, the 44-year-old Oniara was also stated to be responsible for the kidnapping of a judge in the Edo State Judiciary, a top female official of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, FIRS, among other several members of the National Youth Service Corps, NYSC, and security agents. And Oniara was also stated to carry out several armed robberies and kidnap operations in Delta, Edo, Rivers and Anambra states, maintaining operational base and detention camps in Warri and Kokori community in Delta State, Ugbakolo community in Benue State, Benin City in Edo State, and Aba in Abia State. That on the 18th of September 2013, Oniara issued a 60-day ultimatum to the federal government of Nigeria to release some of his boys who were arrested by the Department of State Services, DSS, or he would wreak havoc on innocent Nigerian citizens. And, on the 25th of September 2013, a combined security team of the Nigerian Army and DSS operatives arrested Kelvin Prosper Oniara, a convicted notorious terrorist, kidnap kingpin and armed robber, who had been on the wanted list of the security agencies. And human rights lawyer, Barrister Jefferson Uwoghiren, has condemned and berated the federal government of Nigeria under the presidency of Bola Ahmed Tinubu for arresting, detaining and remanding to Kuje prison Barrister Uwoghiren Nwoko, the lawyer to the detained Biafra Republic agitation leader, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, after Uwoghiren Nwoko was seen joining the Free Nnamdi Kanu protest in Abuja on Monday, according to the human rights lawyer, who have remarkable experience in fighting against police extrajudicial killing. One notable exception is that the lawyer enjoys less freedom than others to speak publicly about his or her own cases, but not when it involves solidarity marches and protests for his client. The conducts of lawyers and the limit of their professional duties is the kernel of the alarming accusation by the presidency yesterday against the lawyer of Mr. Nnamdi Kanu and his subsequent arrest by the police for his presence at a scene in Abuja, where protesters were marching peacefully demanding the release of Mr. Kanu. The statement from the presidency and the police action is obviously a culmination of undisguised hostility towards the lawyer for having the temerity to represent a person the government have since prosecuted and convicted in the court of public opinions. Ordinarily, a lawyer's bail application for alleged crime of illegal protest won't be refused. The refusal is concerning and turning a simple matter into a political case of vendetta and persecution. Bayo Onanuga, the special advisor to the president on information and strategy, had on Monday tweeted while the Free Nnamdi Kanu protest was ongoing, that, "I spotted Uwoghiren Nwoko, one of Nnamdi Kanu's lawyers, among the small group of protesters mobilized in Abuja by Omoyele Sowore. I wonder what Mr. Nwoko was thinking when he decided to join this shambolic protest. As a lawyer, he should be aware of the principle of sub judice, particularly in relation to the ongoing treason case before the court. The prosecution has concluded its case, and it is now incumbent upon Mr. Nwoko and the other lawyers to mount a strong defense for Kanu, rather than focusing on preparing a strong case. Mr. Nwoko has resorted to extra-legal tactics, joining a career anarchist, to influence the process. Meanwhile, few hours ago, the organizer of the protest and the founder of Sahara Reporters News Media, Omoyele Sowore, stated via his social media accounts that, "We have been informed that plans are allegedly in place at Kuje prison to harm Nnamdi Kanu's younger brother, Fineboy, and Uwoghiren Nwoko, his special counsel, inside Kuje prison by special orders assigned by the Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu." Bayo Onanuga in the tweet demanded a snaction against Barrister Uwoghiren Nwoko for joining the protest, calling for the release of his client, Nnamdi Kanu. Accordingly, Bayo Onanuga said, "I spotted Uwoghiren Nwoko, one of Nnamdi Kanu's lawyers, among the small group of protesters mobilized in Abuja by Omoyele Sowore. I wonder what Mr. Ejimako was thinking when he decided to join this shambolic protest. As a lawyer, he should be aware of the principle of sub judice, particularly in relation to the ongoing treason case before the court. The prosecution has concluded its case, and it is now incumbent upon Mr. Nigeria Police Force, NPF, under the leadership of the Inspector General of Police, IGP Kayode Egbetoken, who is currently in the United States, US, attending the International Association of Chiefs of Police, IACP annual conference in Denver, Colorado, USA, alongside other senior police officers, has warned troublemakers to resist the temptation of hijacking the Free Nnamdi Kanu protest slated to hold today across the West Africa country by the organizers and other group of Nigerians to demand the release of the detained Biafra Republic agitation leader, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Also, the NPF reminded the organizers and the protesters to respect the federal High Court order that restricted them from staging the protest in certain areas in Abuja, such areas which included Aso Rock Villa and its environs, the National Assembly Complex, Force Headquarters, the Court of Appeal, Eagle Square and Shehu Shagari Way, while assuring the protesters of protection. The NPF, in a statement issued and made available by the Force spokesperson, Benjamin Hundean, indicated that the Nigeria Police Force reaffirms its unwavering commitment to upholding the rule of law and maintaining public peace in accordance with constitutional provisions. This follows the subsisting order of the Federal High Court, Abuja Division, given on the 17th of October 2025, by Honorable Justice M.G. Umar, in suit number FHC, ABJ, CS, 2202-2025, Federal Republic of Nigeria vs. Omoyele Sowore and 4 others. The order restrains the respondents and any other persons or groups acting under their instruction from staging protests within and around Aso Rock Villa and its environs, the National Assembly Complex, Force Headquarters, the Court of Appeal, Eagle Square and Shehu Shagari Way. In deference to the authority of the court and in line with the constitutional mandate of the police to enforce law and order, the force hereby calls on all groups, whether in support of or opposed to the ongoing agitation for the release of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, to adhere strictly to the provisions of the court order. The directive remains binding and enforceable pending further judicial proceedings. The Nigeria Police Force recognizes and respects the rights of citizens to peaceful assembly and expression. However, such rights must be exercised responsibly and within the limits of the law, particularly where public safety, national security, and the rights of other citizens are concerned. The court's intervention is therefore a safeguard, not a suppression, of constitutional freedoms. Accordingly, all intending protesters and counter-protest groups are strongly advised to avoid restricted areas and to refrain from any act capable of provoking confrontation or disturbing public order. The force will ensure the free flow of traffic, protection of lives and property, and security of all law-abiding citizens. Any person or group that uses protests as cover to incite violence, carry or use offensive weapons, vandalize public or private property, kidnap, or engage in acts likely to cause loss of life or serious injury will be dealt with decisively. Offenders will be arrested, subjected. Founder of Sahara Reporters News Media and the organizer of the Free Nnamdi Kanu protest, Omoyele Sowore has refuted and debunked the reports circulating in some sections of the media that the Federal High Court sitting in Abuja has stopped the upcoming Monday, October 20th mass protest organized to demand the release of the detained Biafra Republic agitation leader, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, saying, "The media report is false and a calculated attempt to distract members of the public from coming out to join the protest," adding, "Nnamdi Kanu is so sick that the people must come out now to set him free." The sickness, as alleged by Omoyele Sowore, apparently challenged the medical report issued by the Nigerian Medical Association, NMA, who had submitted its panel report before the trial court on Thursday that Nnamdi Kanu is fit to face trial, that the sickness is not life-threatening, but Punch newspaper reporter at the court on Thursday reported that it was the Department of State Services, DSS lawyer, who happened to be one of the parties in the dispute that presented the NMA medical report before the court, we are yet to ascertain the independency, fairness, objectivity, accuracy and transparency of the Nigerian Medical Association, NMA, in conducting the medical examination. In a statement on Saturday, Omiyele Sowore said, "The Federal High Court in Abuja has not stopped the proposed Free Nnamdi Kanu protest slated for Monday, October 20, 2025. Contrary to the misleading claims being circulated by police lawyers and sections of the media, no order was granted restraining citizens from exercising their constitutional right to peaceful assembly." Justice Umar of the Federal High Court declined to issue any ex parte order sought by the police to halt the nationwide protest altogether. What exists is a purported court order, obtained in chambers by lawyers of the police, which has not been served on anyone, asking that protesters not protest at Aso Rock Villa, National Assembly, Eagle Square, and a certain Shehu Shagari Way, the latest false claims designed to confuse the public and discourage participation. The protest date is sacrosanct. The movement is unstoppable. In another statement, Omiyele Sowore said, "I was deeply involved in the struggle for the validation of the June 12th election, and I remember vividly how the system operated back then, how they weaponized the judiciary to buy time, to deceive the public, and to justify injustice. They kept saying, Abiola's case is in court, using that as a shield for tyranny, until they eventually killed him a day before his supposed release. It was a well-orchestrated tragedy disguised as legal processes. Today, I see the same script being replayed with Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, the same manipulation, the same excuses, fake narrators, fake protesters, the same abuse of process. The language has not changed. Only the victims have. History is repeating itself before our eyes. And just as we fought to expose the truth then, we must do so now, before it's too late. The Nnamdi Kanu I saw in court on October 16th is very ill. We must rescue him before another citizen is sacrificed to the bloodthirsty Nigerian elite club. Punch.
Bringing you the news in a more digital way.